I'm David from Levika Photography, and today we are looking at the Gudsen Moza Air 3-axis gimbal for DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, and my trials and tribulations with this thing. It has been a very rocky relationship. So let's dive into this. Alright, so as you can see, the case has got a little bit of wear to it, so I've been playing around with this quite a bit. But let me just show you what it looks like when it's packed normally. Now the case itself is actually really good. On the inside of the case, along this edge, there's a gasket that runs around the entire thing. Makes this fairly waterproof, and to be honest with you, I've actually dumped everything out of the case and used this when I was paddleboarding to keep my camera in, just to keep it dry. So yeah, the case is really good. Anyway, first thing you get are the directions, which is normal. The second thing is this funky battery charger. This is USB only, so you need to get some sort of an adapter if you want to plug it into a wall, like a cell phone adapter. And then these small, freaky looking little batteries, 26 350s, and these are 2,000 milliamp hours, and they fit in here actually just like this. They give you 3 batteries, you got 4 slots, not a big deal. The charger does seem to work very well. Okay, so there's our batteries. In this little area we have the bottom of our handle, and right off the bat I am going to use this particular unit did not come with an accessory tripod that you've seen other people have. So with this I'm just going to use my mounting plate from my big Giodos tripod head. That way we got something to stand it on. From here the batteries go in plus side up, so like so. And then over here is our wireless controller. Now I already put the handlebar adapter on this. As you can see, this is kind of how it goes on there. So it just screws in with this one nut. So you can take this out if you don't need it. And let me see here. This is the clamp for the handlebar grip. And then here are the bars themselves. And while I'm here, might as well just screw these together. Well, actually these are the grips for the handlebars. The bars themselves are actually over here on this side, in this long section. So you can pop these out, screw them into here. Now one thing I'm not a fan of is the bars turn away from each other, so you really got to make sure that they're tight. And then you can slide the handlebars on. For right now we're just going to put them on here so they're flat like so. So that's your handlebar system, and then this just clamps onto the neck right there. Now here is our system itself, and right now I've got the Sony cable plugged into it, into this port over here, and you'll see why here in just a second. So we'll go ahead and screw the top onto our battery section here. Okay. So there we have it. That's pretty much put together. The other things that you have in this case are your accessory cables for the different cameras. There's one for Canon in here, and one for the GH4, probably works with the GH5 as well. And then you have this funky little mount, and this is for using, let me get it in the light there so you can see it. This is for using more telephoto lenses that require a nut, and then here are your nuts for mounting this. And there's another one that's already on here, and you can see the mounting plate itself has 2 slots. Okay, so let's do a quick walk around on here. And the first thing you have is a thumb joystick that allows you to move it wherever you want, easily slides, also works as a button. This is your power button. On the side here we've got our Q20 mount in case you need to mount this on the side of something for whatever reason. Over here, this is your port. Now this is where you use the USB cable that came with it to upgrade the firmware if you need to upgrade. Now let me just set this down. Okay, the head part over here, this little port right here is for your camera. And that's where you're going to plug the cable in. This will allow you to control the shutter cable on the camera. And then balancing this. This is the next thing that we need to do. Okay, for right now I'm going to go ahead and just mount the A7R on here. Anyway, I'm using the inside track for this because to me that seems to be what's best for this. Alright, before we mount the camera, I'm going to add a quick release plate, and this doesn't come with the camera. This is just something that's going to make my life easier down the road. The shutter button always comes in on this side and kind of butts up against this. Just so you know, it has this little area right here that says this side up. So when you're setting it up, you'll know. But this sticker doesn't seem to want to stay on. So another easy way to remember this is that the logos stay readable. So as long as you know that, you'll be in good shape. So anyway, let's go ahead and adjust this one first. So this is our balance this way. Almost there. Okay, I think. And the bummer about just using these gimbals in general is that you have to do this every single time that you use these. So these are definitely more for professional use only because you do have to go through some serious work to get this just right. Alright, so we got to figure out where our balance is going to be right there. And then this is going to have to come forward more. Okay, so now we're getting to where we should be. Okay, so now we've got this balance this way and this way, so we're almost there. Our last adjustment is going to be this way. And what you want is to get this to where it's sitting level this way. Alright, there we go. So you have this balanced this way, your camera is balanced this way, and your camera is also balanced this way. So once you get to this point, you're pretty much good to go. I think it's safe to turn on. And now we've got excellent movement. Okay, so this gives you 3 basic modes, just in basic gimbal mode. And so really quick, let's go over those modes. So if you use the joystick, you can, of course, pan and tilt, but if you press it in, because it's a button, then that gives you full tilt. And from here you can adjust your tilt angle, so you can say I want to shoot something down low, and then you can keep it at that angle and then pan up for those really smooth vertical rises. So then the other one is hitting the joystick button twice, and basically this gives you follow mode. And this is the same thing where you can adjust it, pan and tilt to whatever you need to, but basically this will allow you to follow around whatever it is that you're doing. So if I turn it this way and turn it this way, or down or up, it'll give us that slow, smooth motion. And then the last one, if you hit this 3 times, this gives us a horizontal panning capability that's super smooth. And again, you can adjust your pan and tilt. But that seems to work really nicely. And those are just the 3 functions that it comes with. Now there are some slight issues that go along with this. And just to give you an idea, if I turn this straight at the camera, you'll notice that there's one issue going on here. The camera is slightly tilted. And this is kind of a problem because I've calibrated this and calibrated and calibrated and tried it with different cameras. And this one just seems to be a few degrees off, like probably, I don't know, maybe 3 degrees. So there is a way to get around this, and this is just a temporary fix until somebody actually comes up with something in a firmware update. But if you power on the wireless controller here and then go down to habits and then go to joystick and then up down, I set this to roll. And then you can back out and go back to the main menu. And then when you get here, when I hit the vertical button on the joystick, it's giving me tilt. So what this allows me to do is just use the wireless controller to get this thing to where it's aligned perfectly right there. So from here, now I can go in and change my different modes. But every time you change the mode, you can see it went back again. So now I've got to do the same thing again. Set it to where it's exactly where I want it to be. And this is currently in follow mode, but at least that way it stays flat. And this is just kind of a half-assed workaround until they figure out exactly how to fix this, and hopefully somebody from Moza actually responds to one of my emails about getting that fixed. So that's kind of a downfall of it, but overall everything else is working okay. Now the other issue that we had was with the wireless control. Now when I got this 2 days before they announced the wireless control capability. So I had to go in and do a firmware update on the gimbal and a firmware update on the wireless controller. Now the problem with this is they're both poorly documented. If you're an iPhone user, which most likely you're probably not, I'm not, I'm an Android person, the issue here is their iPhone app is very solid and robust and works just fine, but their Android app is still in beta, so it doesn't work on a lot of phones. And when I got this, I was using the Moto G5 Plus and couldn't even connect to this thing. It just wouldn't do it. Now I've got the LG V20, and this seems to talk to it just fine, for the most part. Now, there are still some issues, but at least I can get it to talk to it. I can calibrate from my cell phone. I can control the motion from my cell phone. But the current app that's in beta for Android, I cannot do time-lapse yet. Every time I try, this thing just crashes. So that's kind of a bummer. As far as doing firmware updates, if you don't have an iPhone, you have to do it through a PC or Mac desktop computer. And that's not so bad, except when I downloaded the software to do the firmware updates, there's no publishing license on it, so my antivirus software hated the fact that I was trying to use this. So I actually had to uninstall my antivirus software to be able to run this application so it wouldn't freak out. But basically, you install the Moza Assistant app on your desktop and then connect it via USB cable with everything turned off. Then you turn your device on, and there's a certain way that you turn it on that puts it into firmware update mode, and then you can update the firmware on both pieces. Once I did that, I was able to go into wireless control mode. And let me show you exactly what that is like. So before you do anything, if you want to use wireless control mode, I'm still playing with my tilt, you need to go to your mode and put it on all lock. Now this was an issue for me because this thing defaults to just yaw when you turn it on. So if it's not on all lock, then what happens is it has a tendency to drift, or at least mine did. So on all lock, I'll go in and I'll straighten out our camera really quick here. Get it perfectly straight. Now I'll hold down the options button, and then I'll go down to, let me see here, motion control. And I'll go over here, and I got to hold this down while I do this. Then I'll hit start. And now it's working with the controller. So let me get that right there. Come around here. So now I've got this working with the controller, and I love using this thing wirelessly. It's kind of tricky. It takes a little bit of getting used to. I'm hoping to get good footage with this, but like I said, pretty much a learning curve to be able to figure this thing out. But it is one really cool feature, and there's a bunch of things that you can do with this. Just the amount of slow motion assist is actually very cool. So that part I love. The only other thing that is not documented anywhere that I must bring up is on the back of this controller, and I'm going to try to keep it in the light here, this roll dial. And it's also a button. I have no idea what this thing does. Can't make it do anything. I imagine this has something to do with some sort of follow focus mechanism for Canon, but I'm really not sure. So there's no documentation on it. I have no idea. I wish I could explain that part to you. Alright, so let me give you a quick conclusion on this gimbal. Overall, I think it's very well designed. I love the air controller. I think it works really well. I don't really have any qualms with that, except when I calibrate, my camera is just slightly cockeyed, so I have to go in and adjust the roll before I start shooting on it. Really, I wish the arms that are on here were just a little bit longer. That way, the lens hood could clear and there wouldn't be any issues. And I added a tripod plate to this, a very small one, something that wouldn't add a lot of weight or thickness, just so that way I could remove the camera to be able to change the battery really quick and get it back on there without any issues. So other than that, I think it's actually a very cool gimbal. I am very happy with it now that I know how to use it and now that I know what I need to do with it. So I'm looking forward to actually getting to try to do some serious video with it. I think it's actually amazing. I just wish that these guys had better documentation and better tech support. So anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel for more information like this, and we'll talk to you guys later. See ya.